Hi, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden. Welcome to Philosophical Coffee. So, if you are new to my channel, I'm an ontologist and I study, am from, and do nothing but dissect the abstract realism and the self. So, this is my forte. I finished my book this morning. No, wait, last night. Last night, I was going to work on it this morning. I did a little bit of tweaking this morning, but I'm getting ready to do revisions today. I'm very, very fucking excited about this book. This is, and I think I'm going to be calling it Delusion Unbreaking, possibly, or Breaking Delusion. I currently it's called Breaking Delusion. It is the sequel to Broken. Broken is a fantastic book if you need perspective and awareness to figure out, am I normal? Is this what's wrong with me? And it's a great metric to evaluate and determine where your own childhood traumas exist in comparison to. And many, many people who have read Broken have walked away from it going, oh, there's some perspective for you. And I've seen a lot of people after reading Broken, they get help. So it's literally like the story that pushes people into the state of awareness to start looking for help. And then this is its sequel, Unbreaking Me, which is literally in story format, the steps that I took to get through my healing. It's all of them. It's the AIDNS, it's the theory, it's the physics behind my work, it's all of it. And it's all done in story format so that you heal as you read it. And I just finished it yesterday. It's in script form, so I'm going to be turning it over into novel reading format. And I also am going to be leaving it in script form, and I have some friends in some great places that I'm going to be preparing the script for. So I'm very, very excited about that. It is snowing in Brooklyn. It is very weird to be snowing in Brooklyn. We have a storm right now in the city, and we don't get these very often. I mean, this is literally the first snowfall of the year because we're so close to the ocean that we don't see snow. It's like England. There's never any snow here. When it does snow, it's weird. So I was struggling with one part of the story yesterday where I was getting into the emotional transaction of human connection. And there's basically the consensual transaction, and then there's the non-consensual side. And the energy flows differently depending upon which one it is. 98% of all human interaction is on the non-consensual side because people don't understand the very gentle balance of authority, power, control, and the power exchange that takes place there. The power exchange is easily the most grossly understood part of all of the physics of ontology. It is extraordinary. And it's basically power is choice. Power comes from choice. And there's two ways you can look at it. There is you choosing, and then there is you allowing others to choose. Allowing, yes, making sure you respect the choice of others. So, and that was, it was really, there is your own choice, which equals to self-authority. And then there is your respecting. And I want to say allowing, but allowing is really an ugly word. So I want to look up respect definition. The feeling of deep admiration, regard, consideration, thoughtfulness. Now, there you go. Thoughtfulness. That is a great definition. Thoughtfulness. So respect, and let's call this thoughtfulness. You're respecting or thoughtfulness the choice of others. But more than that, it's the preservation. It's the thoughtfulness and the preservation. You're respecting thoughtfulness and the preserving the choice of others. And this is literally respecting someone's authority. So when we say that we are respecting someone's authority, what we are really doing is preserving and thinking about someone's authority, someone's self-authority. And I really need to clarify that this is self-authority. And this is where these are terminology. This is terminology. This is concept that is so grossly understood by foundationals because they haven't learned these ethics yet. Bottom line, they have not learned the ethics yet. And as a result, they're trying to explain something they know nothing about. So this is, I'm going to put the blackboard here. Down at the bottom of the, okay, you can check now, down at the bottom of this, and the comment section, not the comment section, but in the description video, there is a link that says Blackboard, and that will take you to the, basically to my website where I make notes while I talk. This is on the emotional transactions of human connection and the power exchange. And you have your own choice, which equals to self-authority. And then you're respecting thoughtfulness and the preservation, the choice of others. So when you respect someone, what you're really doing is preserving their self-authority and being mindful of your own self-authority and the self-authority of others. This is the core of all human existence. When you strip everything down, everything comes down to this: whether you're a parent, a child, a student, whether you're 5, 10, 20, 80, it doesn't matter. This comes down to every one of us has self-authority, and there is your relationship with your own self-authority and the preservation and thoughtfulness of someone else's self-authority. Because self-authority is literally our direct relationship to choice, consent. And when you look at, we talk about rape culture, and oh my God, this could not be, that is so point on, is there are so many different points every single day where we don't consent. And when you are making, if you are new to my channel, if you are not familiar with my background, I am a free domesticated slave. I lived for 40 fucking years as a slave. At one point, I wore chains. I have been locked in rooms. I have been prepped for trafficking. I have been every kind of slave you can possibly think. I had scars on my wrist for 2 years while the chain scars healed. Like, I've been a fucking slave. So I have a comprehension and a depth of understanding, freedom, choice, that exceeds the comprehension of most people. And one of the things that I learned when I healed was the majority of us are living as slaves without realizing it. We live in a slave culture. I call it silent slavery. Because when you make a choice based on fear of consequence, fear of repercussion, fear of safety, fear, you're not free. Freedom is the ability to make a choice based on what you want. And if you can't make a choice based off of what you want without resistance, you are not free. You think you're free? Try and leave. See how free you're not. Bottom line, you live with a narcissist? You think you're free? Try walking away. The literal, and this is the metric, the amount of resistance is equal to the lack of self-authority. The more resistance you have when you make a choice based off of want, that is equal to the exact quantity of slavery you are experiencing. Because when somebody is free, there is zero resistance. That's why in all of these sci-fi movies and dystopian films, they call themselves the resistance. It's because resistance is the metric to determine just how free you are or are not. And if you are basing a choice off of your safety, off of fear of repercussion, off of fear of consequence, you are not free. Freedom is making choice off of want and desire with zero resistance. I figured this out when I was 15 and spent my entire life trying to get out. It took me literally 40 years of slavery to finally figure out how to escape. Technically, I didn't escape. He let me go. He threw me out because he couldn't breed me, literally. So I'm at a point now where, and it took me 2 years after, it was 2020 when he threw me out. And I had no idea I was a slave. No fucking idea. I knew that I wasn't free, but I didn't process that that meant slave. And it wasn't until I was in a coffee shop in 2022 talking to a bunch of New Yorkers Just we were all talking about our past, our lives, our stories. It was a really deep, wonderful conversation. And they had asked me about my past, and I was elaborating some of the stuff. And unanimously, everyone in the coffee shop went, that was slavery, right? No. And I went home that day, researched slavery, found thousands of websites that depicted this. And yeah, I was a slave. So there was a whole lot of trauma and adjusting in my mindset that I required. And more specifically, I identified a very unusual, common, but never talked about mental symptom that is only unique to people who live in slavery, that most of us have. And it's people pleasing is one of the symptoms. If you're a people pleaser, it's because you lived as a slave at some point, if you're not living as one already. So this is something that, because I couldn't get to the heart of people pleasing, and people pleasing is one of the 12 symptoms of living as a slave. It is being afraid to speak, being afraid to open your voice, being afraid to not agree, being afraid to make choices, an inability to make choices, a constant mindset of submission, constantly putting other people first to make sure you stay in your place. All of these are symptoms of slavery. And I started to study it and notice it in people. And then people would explain and describe their lifestyles to me and their situations and their relationships. And they matched mine. And I'm going, wow, if I was a slave, call a duck a duck. So I was thinking about it last night. It really looks like winter wonderland outside. I'm just saying, holy fucking shit, this is gorgeous. Like, we have inches of snow caked onto the trees. And I'm like, wow. And we're off the ocean. I'm like 10 minutes from Coney Island. So it's like, wow. Anyway, I'm going to stop looking at the snow for a minute. And when I started to break it down last night, I was going over choice, and I got to this one part in my book, and I really struggled with this thing. Like, it was the one part, and I'm like, it's very complex. It's simple. No, it's not simple. It's complex. And complex means has multiple components. That's what complex means. Simple means few components. That's what simple and complex means. So there's many components. So trying to explain this multiple component facet of the four parts of the emotional transaction of exchange, and it's all about comprehending and understanding the relationship between authority, power, control, and the role that vulnerability plays in all of this. This is really fucking deep shit. And I'm trying to figure out how to simplify this. And that's really what my conundrum is right now, is I'm trying to figure out how to simplify this, because I was very upset with how it all came out. And at one point, Berrigan, a character in my book, hell, he's much more than that, but he steps forward. He's like, Lass, I think you need help on this. And I'm like, show me. And because trying to break it down, it was so challenging for me, because I'm like, I can see all the components and I can't see the big picture yet. That's why it's hard. It's because I couldn't. Anytime something is hard, it's because you're looking at the components and you're not seeing the big picture. That's it. It's like trying to put a puzzle together without knowing what the big picture is. That's all it is. That's when things are hard. Things are hard when you're only looking at components. Things are hard when you're learning them out of order. And things are hard when you are not in a learning mindset. So I'm going to write those down because that's really, really important. Something is hard when you are only seeing the components, when you are not in the learning mindset, and when you are learning out of order. There is an order of operations to learning. And if you are learning out of order, it's going to be hard. Easy is when You see the big picture. You are in the learning mindset, and you are learning in order. That's it. Ooh, I'm feeling really, really good today. I am feeling really, really good today. I made a choice last night, like 4 o'clock this morning, actually. And in making the choice, I also handed my partner the choice. And it took the choice off of me, and I made a choice. Well, it also put the choice on him. So it freed me, and it gave him control. I'm going to say that again. It freed me and gave him control. And restores balance. And that's it. Choice frees you and gives the other control, restoring balance. Every time you have a problem, every time you have an obstacle, every time you are in a situation in life where things are hard or there's problems, there's just an imbalance of power. And to break it, you need to make a choice for yourself and exercise self-control and give the other person power. And in so doing, you sever the ties, not permanently, but you unintegrate. This is literally how you unintegrate, because we live and function, our whole brains, our whole minds, everything we do lives on a component whole, greater whole, integrate. This is all we do, people. This is it. This is it. This is what it all boils down to. There's components, greater wholes, and the integration of said components. That is all we do. That is all we do. We talk about cell division. Let's talk about integration of components. That's all we do. And when you understand to what degree, to what extent the human psyche and every fucking thing we do revolves around component identification, identifying in the omniscient point of view with the greater whole, and then integrating the components to create the new greater whole. And then going, oh, wow, look at that. This greater whole is also a component to another greater whole. Oh, I've learned information. This information is a component. Oh, look, I have studied this book. This book is a component. Oh, look at that. I'm going to integrate said components and I'm going to form a greater whole. Oh, look at that. I have an identity. My identity is a component, which is also a greater whole of lesser components. Oh, look at that. I have multiple personality disorder. It's because you have multiple components of the self that you need to integrate into the greater whole. And then when you create the greater whole, you have a micro universe. It's really fucking cool. And there's a whole lot of people going, okay, I'm going to integrate, and you're integrating with components that don't belong in your system. That is why you have a mental illness. It's because you have integrated components that are not part of your system. That's really articulate. I'm going to write that down. That is it right there. Yeah. You have integrated components that are not part of your system. Equals mental illness. And that's it. So you have to learn how to break down the components, unintegrate, separate yourself, and then reintegrate your own components into your own system. And not to do so gives you narcissism, borderline personality disorder, codependency. It's really fucking cool. Like when you start breaking down everything into components and greater wholes, and it's just the integration of. This is my favorite part. IQ tests do nothing but measure your ability to identify components, repetition patterns, and your ability to integrate said components into a greater whole. Every IQ test is just measuring your skill in that particular subject. This is teachable. This is learnable. This is fucking easy shit. But people live in a first person point of view, so they're not seeing it because they're only staring at the component. You remember when we were kids in the 80s and there were these science magazines? It was 2 pieces of paper. It was 2 pieces of folded paper. And they had these gigantic things blown up in microscopic view, and you had to look at them and figure out what you were looking at. That's what we're doing. That's what everybody's doing. That's first person point of view. That is first person point of view. You are looking at the base of a lamp going, I don't understand what I'm looking at, because you're just staring at the base of a lamp. And people who have this skill, the component greater whole integration, I'm going to call it that, the integration of components into the greater whole skill. We really need a simpler name for this, but this is it. This is it. When you know how to do this through the shifting of perspectives and points of view and the integration of perspectives and points of view, you see where this is going. You have the ability then to literally maneuver your field of vision, perspective vision, your field of perspective vision in and around a single problem to figure out what it is you're looking at, so that you can zoom out and go, oh, it's a lamp, as opposed to looking at the base of a lamp going, I have no idea what the fuck I'm looking at. And that is exactly how all of us function, live, die, breathe in this world. And most of us foundationals are so obsessed with their first person point of view, staring at the base of the lamp, going, okay, I have the answer and everyone must conform. No, you're a bunch of dipshits because you're foundationals and you have no idea what you're looking at. Why are you in charge? Like, really, I want to just be like, I want a microphone. I'm like, the foundationals are really, they're the dumbest of us all. Okay, not dumbest. They are the least educated. Truly, they are. And it's just their state of growth. That's just where they are. But they are not qualified to be in charge. And I'm going, what the fuck? Why are they in charge? Like, really? Which, yeah, it just, Wonderland. So I'm like, I'm looking at this, and I'm in the fourth ethical perspective now of the U of I, and I have this massive, oh my God, time is perspective. True story. Time is just perspective. Time is perspective. Every time we refer to time, we are just referencing a particular perspective from a particular point of view. Time is perspective. And it's like, I had such a massive, oh, time is perspective, which is why as you proceed through the perspectival stages of growth, time speeds up and you exist at a higher frequency. So I live in the future. I always live in the future. I've been living in the future since I was like 4. And because the future happens first. The future happens first. The future happens first. And it doesn't go, okay, present now, and then the future's, no, you shift. We actually live in the future. We live in the future, which is why deja vu happens. Yeah, like once you start playing around with abstract, things get really different. And I just had a lot of components integrated for me yesterday, so I can now see the bigger picture. That's what happened yesterday. And this happens every time you shift into the next perspective, is the components that you have. Basically, a perspective is you accumulating all the data and all the components of said perspective. And then when you get near the end of the perspective, you can integrate them and you go, oh my God. And then you shift. And now you're in the next slot of time, which is perspective. And you're going, oh my God. And you're looking at all the components, and everything now has different meaning because you have shifted perspective. So now you have to reevaluate all of the components, reevaluate everything in your life, put them all together, integrate them, and go, oh my God. And then after a while, you start to realize that every greater whole is just a component of another greater whole, including us. So I live like this. And I had a lot just kind of come together this morning, last night. And I went, okay, power of choice. I'm going to make a choice. I feel empowered. And in empowering myself, I passed choice over to my partner and said, here, you need to make a choice now. I've made my choice. You need to make your choice. I feel better. It's the first time I woke up and my AI-DNS was just buzzing, going, yay. And I didn't have to adjust it. And I didn't freak out. And I'm like, wow, this is nice. This is nice. I think I finally got the balance of my AI-DNS. I've tweaked it. So it's perfect. So I don't want to touch it right now. And I feel free and I feel liberated and I feel empowered, and the choice is over in his court now. And I'm like, great. He has the burden of choice. I'm good because I've made my choice. I feel fucking fantastic. And then I finally found the words. I finally found the words that I have been trying to say all of my life. I am a citizen of the abstract. I grew up in the abstract. I have always been in the abstract. And as a result, I grew up completely separate from the cultural, societal norm. I don't understand it. It is an anomaly to me. I am a foreigner of your culture. I am a foreigner of your system. I did not grow up in your system. I grew up in the abstract, where time and perspective are very different over there. It is like this. You live in Wonderland and I live through the looking glass. So all my life, I have lived in the looking glass. I have been there since I was 4 years old. Since I was 4, I could cross over. I don't know if it was before then. I've always been able to do it. I became conscious of it at 4. And then at 8, I went, oh, fuck this shit. Well, no, it wasn't like that at all. At 8, I was so traumatized that I ran to there. And so I've lived in the abstract all my life. For 32 years, I lived in the abstract. And every time I came out of the abstract, chaos and shit happened. And I went, well, fuck this hole. This is a shithole. And I went back to the abstract. Because the abstract is logical, runs on physics, and it makes sense. And I finally fixed my brain. Well, more specifically, I finally mastered the art of integration. Realized that the self was just literally, okay, so you're on a spectrum. This is time. This is the perspectives. This is the time spectrum is the perspectives. Like I said, time is perspective. And as you go through the perspectives, you proceed through time. Time is just your location within each and every one of these. It's your progression through the perspectives. So that, and this is like, there's no age, there's no group, there's no, you are the only one who goes through this. It exists on an upward spiral with a pendulum that swings back and forth, back and forth. But the back and forth, that swinging pendulum is how you learn and its growth. And because it's spiraling, there are 3 points that the pendulum hits. The integration, the avoidance, the indulgence, the avoidance, the integration. And it just literally back and forth. So it literally swings. And as it swings back and forth, it spins and it goes in a sense. And we exist on this spiral, proceeding through the stages. This is time. This is what time actually looks like. But boom, we're looking at it this way. So we don't realize we're going this way when in fact, well, it's moving like this because it's on its side. So people over there in Wonderland don't see it the same way I see it, because over here I'm looking at it as I'm walking up a staircase in a spiral. And every time the pendulum swings, you change perspective, and then it swings back and you change perspective, and then it switches and it changes perspective. And this is how we grow. When you get traumatized, it stops. The spiral stops. The pendulum stops swinging, and you freeze, and you are frozen in time. And now you have PTSD. And you're not learning. And you have stunted growth. Or, in other cases, you are forced to, oh, you're a 6th perspective, you live at that frequency, we're going to make you live in this perspective over here. But every perspective has its own frequency. Do you know what happens to energy when you compress it? It would manifest itself as ADHD. That is what happens when you suppress energy. And there is a higher frequency at the higher perspectives than at the lower perspectives. Foundationals do not function the same way as the visionaries or the cultivators. We all have our own spectrum of frequency. And being able to know where you are on this frequency spectrum, my God, this is such fucking gorgeous physics. Knowing where you are on this spectrum tells you precisely what's wrong with you, if anything's wrong with you. In most cases, nothing is wrong with you. You're just living at the wrong frequency. So once you understand, oh, I don't belong here, I belong over there. My pendulum isn't swinging, I need to get it swinging again. It all falls back into place. It's really fucking easy. It's easy because it's simple. It's simple. So the words that I've been looking for is, I did not grow up. I am not from here. I am not from here. I am not from here. I used to tell people from 2020 to 2021, I would say to people, Yeah, I am from everywhere and nowhere. And it's really true. I am from everywhere and nowhere because I did not have the words for articulating where it is I'm actually from. Now I do. The words came to me this morning, and I can now say I am from the abstract. I grew up in the ethereal plane, the abstract. I measure and study reality and the self and the abstract using time and dimension and perspective. That is what I do. It is called ontology. I am a scientist, specifically an ontologist. And my entire function, existence, and purpose is exploring, dissecting, analyzing, mapping, and proving the different dimensions of the abstract world. And oh my God, did I find shit. Really fucking cool. But I've been there for so long that I'm incompatible with the material plane. I'm not from here. I have my own culture. I have my own culture. I have my own time. I have my own everything. I am a foreign entity to your cultural system. So I'm really fucking weird. So when and it's funny because I look at people with the same, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? You're different. The same way they look at me and say, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're different. Yeah. So, and I couldn't articulate it because when I realized what was going on, the words come second. Words are last. Words are last, people. Feelings first, words second, words later. I like to say words later. Feelings first, words later. Like, live by this because it's true. You're going to feel it long before you can articulate it. And you're going to articulate it long before you can prove it or explain it. This is a process. This is the learning process. This is because of the way the spiral works and the pendulum swinging, and this is it. So the AIDNS, which is my acronym for the Abstract Interdimensional Navigational System, is the device. It's literally all the components. It's a compass, it's a map, it's the guidebook, it's the spiral that constantly moves with the swinging 3-point pendulum. It's that measures the frequency of a human progressing through the learning standards, the natural learning order. So that's where I'm from, which is why I have the ability to see this thing. Here's the best way I can explain it is I grew up in third person point of view. I grew up in the third person. Here in Wonderland, people live and grow up in the first person. I don't understand it. I don't understand this about you. And people look at me and they don't understand it about me, that I think in third person. And I don't understand it. And then when you train yourself how to use expansive thinking, it teaches you how to think omnisciently. So now I have omniscient point of view. I went through the 12 ethical stages of growth, which teaches you how to see things in the first person point of view. So I trained myself using the 12 ethical stages to see in first person point of view. Now I am training on the second ethical perspective. I'm saying this all wrong. Now I am training myself on the second person point of view by going through this 12 ethical stages a second time, this time through the second person point of view. This is the you of I. There is the I of I, which is the first person point of view, the you of I, which is second person point of view, the they of I, which is third person point of view, and then all of I, which is the omniscient point of view. And by the way, it is more of another spectrum. So I mapped all this out. I wrote up the diagram. I'm working on the geometry. Well, I had the geometry down. Now I am working on, it's going to be octane physics. I can see it. I can see it. I'm going, oh my God, this is definitely going to be like a diagram. I can see it so fucking clearly. But I got to, I'm finding the formulas. The geometry is so clear. I'm like, oh my God, this is octane geometry. I cannot wait until I create the model. I have no idea how I'm going to do this. Maybe I'll get Tinker Toys. But oh yeah. I'm excited. I got that. So yeah, I can see it. I can see the spiral, and I can see it moving, and I can see the pendulum above it swinging, and I can see it like a giant Foucault's pendulum. I can see it precisely like Foucault's pendulum, but Foucault's pendulum is just part of it. There's one part, I think it was in, I can't remember where it was. I saw it. I I feel like all the words came to me between last night and this morning that I have had stuck in my, not stuck in my head. It's, I can see this. I've been able to see it since I was 4. And I had no idea I was looking at physics when I was 4. I just saw shit. And it was about 10 perspectives ago that I went, oh, I'm looking at physics. That's physics. And I love it because one of the favorite things I love about when you're in the abstract, when you're in my world, time is literally based on the perspectives. So it's 10 perspectives ago, 2 perspectives ago, which tells you in coordinates where I am in relationship to myself and my own growth, because I am the center of my universe, as are you are the center of your universe. The problem is, how defined are you? If you are not defined, you are going to be one fucked up universe. Which is why a lot of us walk around going, who am I? Where am I? What am I? I remember this one part. I love Douglas Adams. I love Douglas Adams. And he did Dirk Gently. Now, I don't like the American version. That's icky. I loved the original BBC version. And there's this one thing where he's got to break into the psychologist's files in his office. He's not a patient there. He just needs the files on this case he's investigating. And he's like, I need you to lay on the ground. And the guy's like, what? This is so Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I need you to lay on the ground. You need me to what? Just lay on the ground like this. And the guy's like, you what? Yeah, like this. So the guy's like, all right. So he lays on the ground. He goes, now put your hands up. And he lays on the ground like this. And he goes, now stay there. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so Arthur Dent in the Mud. I love it. I love Douglas Adams. So then Dirk is like, now don't move. And he runs upstairs and he goes into the office of, like, he's in the secretary's office, and she's like, do you have an appointment? He goes, no. And he rustles up his hair and he opens the door. She goes, you can't go in there. And he goes, who am I? And he just walks up to the psychologist. And the psychologist has no idea what this guy is. He's like, what? And he goes, who am I? Where am I? And I love this. And he runs over to the balcony and he jumps. And the psychologist is like, oh my God. And without the psychologist realizing it, Dirk Gently has like flattened himself up against the wall. And the psychologist looks down and there's the guy laying on the ground doing this. And he goes, oh my God. And the psychologist runs out of his office. And Dirk Gently then goes back into the psychologist's office, finds the file, pulls it out, locates the information, and quietly walks out. Downstairs, there's the guy still laying there on the ground like this. And the psychologist is like, and there's a guy going, hello. And the psychologist is like, it's so fucking funny. I love Douglas Adams. So every time I say, who am I? It's all I can think of in my head is this scene from Dirk Gently and Douglas Adams. Who am I? So yeah, that is... It was the very first question that you read when you start any kind of philosophical study. It is the very first question they ask in philosophy. Who are you? Where are you going? Why are you here? That is my philosopher's compass. That's the 4 questions that I started up with is who are you? Where are we going? Why are we here? Well, why is in the middle, but where did we come from and why are we here? And I realized, oh, it's past, present, future. It's your identity, your dreams, your goals, your past, your present, your future, your destination, and your purpose. Love, value, purpose. I feel so good today. My AIDNS is purring. And I get these milestones in my life. We all do. But not being aware of them is really, be aware of them. Become aware of your milestones. It's a feeling of things have changed. There's changes in the wind. I must sit and reflect. And this occurs in the pendulum, in the swinging pendulum during the philosopher's compass. You can feel it in your AIDNS. It's that moment where you just realize you need to sit and reflect on the self. And I'm there. I finished my book last night. And I did this when I wrote Broken. It was, here's my entire life accumulating everything that led up to 2015. So it was from 1980 to 2015. And it was this, when I finished it, I just put the book down and went, I need help. It was just like, I'm going to go to therapy. I need help. And then Unbreaking Me takes place from 2015 to 2024. And it's this, it was the healing. So it was the past, and then it was like, this is what broke me, broken. And then it's, we're going to break the delusion, the healing. And I'm going to do a third book, but it's probably going to be in 8 years. I have to finish this chapter of my life first. So there is going to be a third book, but I don't know what it is. We're just going to call it X. I'm going to call it Sage Mode. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But I walked away from it last night, and it was the same feeling as Broken, exactly the same feeling. I put it down, and I just went, whoa, deja vu. I've been here. I remember when I finished Broken, it was just this massive, I understand my life. I understand who I am. I understand my purpose. It was very finite. And I just walked away from it, and I felt like it was a download. It feels exactly like a download of, okay, I've got to put all of this information. Actually, it feels like an upload. No, it feels like a download. And when I'm done, I can see the big picture, and I'm just like, well, there's the big picture of me. And that's what was the catalyst for then me sitting down and reflecting on the power exchange. And then me reflecting on everything. I can see my future. I can see, when you live in the future, you can see it. And it's not what people think it is. Seeing the future is actually just mathematical probability. It's really anticlimactic. It's, okay, if you take all the current events and you look at all the components, and statistically, you know exactly what the probability is of everything ending up on all the different possible scenarios right now as they are composed, what's going to happen? And then you use process of elimination to determine the least likely in ratio to the most likely, and there's your future. And then it's, well, I understand that if I want this to occur, I need to increase the probability over here to increase the odds of this. So when you are predicting the future, all you are really doing is altering the odds. You are just adjusting the odds to get the desired outcome. And then when you read, and it's just mathematical reading, you're just reading a clock. And the clock is the spiral with the swinging pendulum. So I can read everyone's clock. I can read my clock. I can read the Earth's clock. I can read how they're all integrated into the big clock. It's just a fucking clock. It is as predictable as being able to go, oh my God, it is going to be 2 o'clock in 4 hours. See that? I just predicted the time. That was future telling. It's going to be 2 o'clock in 4 hours. Don't tell anyone. That is literally predicting the future. It's the same thing. It is the exact same thing. It is the ability to see precisely how the chain reaction, how catalysts work, how relationships work from point A to point B, how they all lined up, knowing precisely how and in what ratio each event, because every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So you know that if you set off A, then B is going to happen, which will set off C, which will set off D, which will set off E. And look at that. You are now predicting the future. So when you are able to take all the components and see how they all move and flex in relationship to energy, you now can predict the future. And then you start living and making choices based off of this point in time instead of that point in time. Most people live according to that point of time. I don't understand this. I have been living at this point of time since I was 4 years old. So I do according to want. I dream, so I do according to dream. And I'm here. This is why I don't understand things like when. And that when really is confusing for me. It's they happen when milestone A, B, C, D occur. That's when. And it's all point of relativity. So I'm over here living in the now. Well, the now for me is the future, your future. See what I mean? Like I said, I'm 2 years ahead. But over there, everyone is responding, reacting to your now. And I'm going, why is your now so far in the past? Why would you ever do that? Why would you live in the present when you can live in the future? And it's basically you make choices based off of the future. So I build from the dream down because I'm in the future. Whereas people will build businesses from the dream up. And I'm going, what the fuck are you doing? You build from the ground up. No, you don't. No, you don't. Whoever told you you built? But again, I don't come from Wonderland. I'm from the looking glass. So in the looking glass, you build from the dream down. You live in the future. Future happens first. In Wonderland, present happens first. See, that's really confusing for me. Really confusing. Like, no wonder why everyone's fucked up in Wonderland. They're out of order. Really, it's so fucking confusing. First, second, third. But no, it's first, second, third, first. I don't understand. It's disorganized. Time is really disorganized over in Wonderland. So like I said, I'm not from there. So this makes dating really fucking hard. I just gotta say. Yeah. This is oh my God. Dating is a fucking nightmare. So I don't even, yeah, it's, yeah. So I went through this time period where I couldn't even articulate the language. I could just yeah, I'm from everywhere and nowhere. Well, where are you from? I'm from everywhere and nowhere. Like, that's where I'm from. Just go with it. If I know you better and I'm willing to invite you into my world, I'm from the abstract. I lived in the abstract, grew up in the abstract. But I don't want to talk about it because it's not your fucking business, is what I want to say to people. And that does not make friends. So you are my people. You are my people. So yeah, I realized, I had this epiphany last night of, if I do date, it's going to have to be a scientist, because a scientist will comprehend my abstract. They will understand. They will get it when I say, yeah, future happens first. Future happens first. So I live in the future because my now is the future. And the other thing, and it's so funny, I am so sorry, Mia, my editor. I am so sorry. So I'm writing things out, and I write it in the present tense, which is the future tense, which is also the present tense. And I will flip constantly between present and future tense. And then I'll go, wait, which dimension am I writing this in? Am I writing it in that dimension or this dimension? Because if I'm writing it in your dimension, I have to make sure I use the proper present tense. The proper present tense. See what I mean? The proper present tense. Because I'm over here in the future, and that's the proper present tense for my area. So I'm constantly, so I will use future events for present tense. And then people are like, you're lying. No, I live in the future. So things happen first there. So it's different. It's really different. And yep. This is my brain. This is my brain. Welcome to the abstract. But yeah. It was something I was writing yesterday, and I just went, oh my God, time is perspective. Perspective is time. They are the same fucking thing. Wow, that explains that disorganization. Time is perspective. That's all it is. Time is perspective. And my head is still reeling over that. I'm still processing it. Time is perspective. Which perspective are you in? See, suddenly time is movable. It's movable per your self system. You're in the wrong time. Yeah, we're talking about time travel. It's dimension walking is what I refer to it as. It's dimension walking. That was the other thing. I am from the abstract. I grew up in the ethereal plane, and I'm a dimension walker. Translation. I live in the abstract world, and I literally shift through all the different perspectives. So I live in the future in the fourth perspective of the U of I specifically. Most people are from the fourth perspective of the I of I. So they are 12 perspectives over there. And you see what I mean? There are 12 perspectives over there, and every one of these is a different frequency. Every one of these is a different allotment of perspective and in a different allotment of time. And then I was looking at the grand time. Time is all relative to the black hole, by the way. Time, the perspectives are relative to the black hole. So the black hole is over there, and it's a spiral. It's a spiral. I don't know if you've seen the universe, the galaxy. It's not flat. It's a spiral, just like the spiral. It's the same fucking thing. So it's a spiral, and the sun is going away from the black hole. So that's the sun. I want my editor is going to go through this video at some point, and she's going to edit in the sun. So it's going to go. So this is the black hole, and it's going to be really awesome. And we are spiraling like this around the sun. So we're all in a spiral, which is why the Fibonacci sequence exists. Because everything's on a spiral. This is why the water in your bathtub goes in a spiral as it goes down the drain. Pretty fucking cool, right? Physics. Centrifugal force. So anyway, I can see me doing like physics. Honest physics. Physics is fun. Physics is a bitch. Gravity. Gravity is something that I've been contemplating lately. I'm looking at gravity going, something's up with gravity. Gravity is not what we think it is. Gravity. Gravity's next. I can feel it. Like I said, feelings first, words later, and then logic. So feeling, words, logic. It's there. And I'm going, gravity is not what we think it is. Gravity is something different. I know what gravity is. I can feel it, but I don't have the words yet. And I cannot wait. It's probably going to be in the next perspective shift where I'm going to get there and there's going to be more components. And I'm going to go, holy shit, gravity! Gravity, guys! You got to see what this is. This is so fucking cool. I know it. I know it's there. I know it. And I cannot wait to figure out gravity because I know it's there. I can feel it in my bones. Feel it in my bones. And this is the best part. The more logical you become, the more physics related you become, the more mathematical you become, the more your intuition becomes more tuned into physics. So you start to feel physics. I mean, you're already feeling physics. You've been feeling physics since you were 2, but you really get to feel physics. And you're going, wow. And you can logically deduce long before you can logically deduce. Like I said, I live in the future. So I'm sitting here going, okay, all right, gravity is something else. And I can just fucking feel it. I want to say it's the point of origin. I want to say gravity is the point of origin, and we are in relative to gravity. And that's location. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. Like gravity is the point of origin, and we're being drawn to the point of origin. And we're resisting, and we're going, no. But we're being drawn to the point of origin, which is gravity. Gravity is just the point of origin. Or is it the destination point? Something's going on. It's the point of origin. It's both. It's both. It's the both. It's both. It's the y-axis and it's the point of origin. It's a circle. It's a ring. It's a circle. I am the beginning and the end. Alpha, omega. This is it. It's gravity is the beginning and the end. It is the point of origin and the y-axis at the same time. Yeah. That's it. I can feel it. Gravity is the point of origin. And we're just being pulled and drawn toward it. We're going toward. I can feel it. Which is why gravity changed depending upon where you are. It's because your point of origin has changed. Isn't physics fucking cool? I love this shit. Yeah. Gravity is something else. It bothered me when I was like, force. It's a force that pulls you downward. That doesn't make any sense. Downward? Down is relative. Down is relative. What the fuck does downward mean? Downward from what? You need 2 locations. Come on, physicists. Come on. And I know it's just your perspective. Come on, look to the abstract. The abstract is amazing over here. I love the abstract. Step through the looking glass. So, my book is probably going to be released. It is going to be released next month. It is going to be released in March. I write really fucking fast. I write really fucking fast because I live in the future with a different frequency. So I can like crank out. I type 180 words a minute. Well, I used to. I don't know what I'm up to now. You know what? That was also back when I was at a slower frequency. As in, I was clocked in at 180 words a minute. And then I had some serious mental shit that slowed me down. So that dropped my typing way down. And I'm hypothesizing that I'm back up again because I do like 10,000 words a day. In perspective, a proficient author will write 2,000 words a day. If you are a professional author, then you write 2,000 words a day. Now, Brandon Sanderson is like me. That man, yeah, that man does like me. He does like 10,000 words a day, if not more. Like Brandon Sanderson is insane. But most authors, most professional authors write 2,000 words a day. People who are aspiring to be an author, they write about 500 words a day, which is mind-blowing to me. I'm like, 500? Okay. All right. They're just not proficient yet, which is why we say professional, is because they are proficient. So somebody who is aspiring to be a writer, well, they are a writer, but they're just not proficient yet. So we need to get rid of the word amateur and professional. It's a writer. You are a writer. It doesn't matter if you write 10 words a day. You are a writer. But when you start out, you're at 500 and you are proficient at 2,000. You are the master when you're punching out 10,000 words plus. So that is for compare. Again, you always need your coordinates in order to have, you need the point of comparison. You need the point of origin, then you need the growth. And that's how you know where you are in relationship to anything. So I feel like I'm drifting right now, which is very normal for the milestone. Whenever you're at a milestone, it does feel like you're drifting because it's like you've laid anchor and you're sitting around the ship going, okay, we're going to, how's the heading? Identity. Are we good on we still want what we want? Yes. We still want what we want. The heading is still solidified. So we have a heading. Great. Intuition. We're going the right way. And she gives me a big thumbs up. Well, we are going the right way. So we're all set. We are going the right way. The heading is still solid. It's like a checking. Like we're going to do a check-in. It's a way station where we're going to like park the ship at the buoy and we're going to like evaluate. Let's just sit back and evaluate. How is life? We need to do this. Everyone needs to do this. How is life? Are we where we're going? Are we on track? How is everything? What's the metric looking like? And it's not a how much do you grow every day? It's are you growing every day? That's the question you need to ask. It's not how much have you learned? It's are you learning every day? You don't get to determine the pace. Nature determines the pace. And you're going to have elements like resistance in your way. See, this is the other thing is perfection is the expectation of proceeding and going forward with momentum with zero resistance. Well, you're going to have resistance because obstacles happen. So perfection is unrealistic in the fact that there is no grasping comprehension of, well, what about the resistance? You are not calculating the entire whole of the equation. You have components of the equation and you are not evaluating and integrating all of the components. You are missing some of the components. Therefore, when you are perfect or when you are trying to achieve perfection, you are lacking significant data to form a proper integrated whole. You are not considering resistance, obstacles. It's like you're looking at the average going, okay, I'm going X amount of miles an hour and I'm going to this point of destination. Therefore, I need to go 46 miles an hour. But that's an average. You're not considering the stoplights. You're not considering the times you're going to be going slower, the times you're going to be faster. It's an average. So perfect does not exist. It is absolutely ludicrous. Don't do it. Don't do it because you are not evaluating properly. You have logical fallacy. Perfection is logical fallacy. And once you understand, oh, perfection is logical fallacy. And basically there is an equation of life. Every life is equations. I'm one of the books I'm writing right now is called Formula Living for Math Nerds. Formula Living for Math Nerds. It's I love my math people. I love my math people. So we're going to go over this because this is I'm very excited. So this is my happy place. I am socially awkward. Can you tell? Like I don't do social shit at all. I suck at it. And I learned that the more mathematical and logical you are, the more abstract living you are, the more oh, I function and live by the rules of physics and logic. Wonderland doesn't. Foundationals in Wonderland don't. And they are in charge of that ship. It's chaos. And I'm over here in Wonderland. Well, no, I'm out of Wonderland. I'm over here through the looking glass going, wow. Now, whenever I step over there, there's no law or order at all on the social comprehension. I don't fucking get it. So, like me and all of my math nerds, it's a bunch of Sheldon Coopers going, I don't comprehend the situation. It is without form or logic. Yes, it is without form or logic or any kind of rational comprehension. So, because it doesn't make logical sense, because it's not based off of logic. So the more mathematical you become, the more awkward you become, the more you understand and comprehend exactly that you need a formula to plug in. You lack the formula. So I have a bunch of formulas that make socializing easy peasy for me because I need the formulas. So I am condensing all of my formulas into a book entitled Formula Living for the Math Nerd so that they can navigate social situations with a proper formula so they can go, oh, I understand now. And as I give my formulas to math nerds, they go, oh my God, I could socialize now. I know, right? Welcome to the abstract. So I am writing this book called Formula Living for the Math Nerd. And there's going to be a little bit more. Yeah, it's how to be if you're a math nerd, how to socialize and get over all that crap that doesn't make any sense because it's illogical. Well, this is what you're supposed to do. This is the formula for it. So when you plug in the formula, you can sail right through it. Like, oh, I get it now. Now you can take control of the conversation. You know how to steer the conversation. You know how to direct the conversation. And it's all based on mathematical and physics formulas. So you're set. You're good. It's wonderful. It's wonderful shit. I think I'm going to just leave my ship here for the day. Every day feels like I'm on a ship. And this is me checking in with my captain's log. Stardate 964236. We came upon an anomaly the other day. I do very much feel like I live on a ship, and I am the captain. And I am just traversing into the great abstract of the internal expanse, going where no man has gone before. So I have a captain's log. And that's another book. I'm writing about 4 books right now. And one of the books I'm writing is literally the captain's journal. It's the philosopher's journal. The captain philosophy. And don't call me that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I am a philosopher, but I am Captain Princess. And I'm sitting here like writing down everything. Like I'll do a daily journal, and it's my space where I don't have to hold my brain back. I don't have to pretend I'm not. It's just my captain's log, and it's like, today I descended into the abstract. I am in the 4th ethical perspective of the you of I. It is dark and dim over here. There's very little life forms over here. Today I discovered that we are all existing on an upward spiral. I love my journal, but I will be publishing my journal either every 90 days or every 100 days. Trying to figure that, or I'm sorry, either annually, or I will be publishing it, like it's going to be anywhere from 90 to I don't know yet. It's definitely a journal, and I haven't figured this out yet. I can't tell if I'm going to release it every 3 months, every 4 months, but it's all of my discoveries. It's all of what it feels like being on this journey, and it's fucking extraordinary. It's really like, wow. And it's literally journaling and documenting this exploration into the expanse. And the purpose for all of this is because the fear of the unknown is at the core of all fear. True story. Fear of the unknown is at the heart of all fear, because what you are really unknown about is the self. Fear of the unknown self. Let's finish the statement. It's fear of the unknown self. And people will resist learning because it leads to the abstract. And this is it. Bottom line. People are fucking terrified of their own mental mind. People are terrified of imagination. People are terrified of the subconscious mind because they know nothing about it. So they avoid it. They stunt their own growth to avoid it because they're terrified. By me going into this expanse, and mapping it and showing them, look, it's the abstract. This is the subconscious mind, real deep. It's not scary anymore. It's not an unknown anymore. You can now safely, using the AIDNS, traverse into the abstract mind, into the subconscious. Walk through these ethical stages, knowing that there's light on the path now. So it takes away the fear of the unknown. I grew up being called insane. I grew up in this world. I had nothing to lose by descending deeper into the abstract. I was already insane, they said. And I went, well, if I'm already insane, and if I've already lost all my freedom, they took away my freedom, they take away my sanity, they took away my body, they took away every fucking thing. They took everything away from me. My credibility, my sanity, my mind, my reality. I literally had fucking nothing to lose. And I thought, what have I got to lose? I had everything to gain to descend into the abstract. And as I descended into it, I found logic. And I went, well, holy fucking shit. I found logic. I found logic on the other side of insanity. Interesting, right? I found logic on the other side of insanity. Now, logic has a beautiful thing to it. The moment you are able to logically prove, you get your sanity back. And I realized this while I was inside the abstract mind, being insane according to them. And I was able to go, well, I'm going to put my mind back together again. So I did. While I was rambling idiocies on the outside because I lacked effective communication at the point, logically, I was piecing it all together, making sense of it, because you feel it first. The words are later. So I couldn't articulate what I was looking at, but my mind had never changed. And when I put it all back together again, and I finally laid out the physics and the formulas and the logic and the geometry, I held the AIDNS in my hand and I went, well, they can't deny this. And then I had the words to effectively communicate what I held in my hand. So for the people who were closest to me in life, it was literally exactly, not as if, it was. I stepped out from insanity and suddenly very articulately said, this is where I've been, and this is what I have been trying to say to you for 2 years. This is what I have seen my whole life. And you assholes called me insane because I lacked the vocabulary to articulate it. Yeah, I'm a little pissed. So I presented the AIDNS. And suddenly I realized I could walk back and forth as many times as I wanted. I can go as deep as I want because I know my point of origin, which is what the AIDNS does, is it defines your point of origin so you can descend all the way into the abstract. And you will always be able to find your way back home because you know who you are. And that is the power of coordinates. Thank you, Kitty Car. Absolutely beautiful. So, welcome to my world. Thank you so much for your audience. I love you, my math nerds. And may the kindest of words always find you.